Now, during my own celebratory preparations, I came upon a quote of Einstein's that I had never seen before. Einstein said that science is a wonderful thing if you don't have to earn your living at it. And it is always so gratifying when there's complete agreement between Albert Einstein and my mother. Now, of course, Einstein did earn his living at science, but for Einstein, science was not an occupation. It wasn't even a field of study. Science was life. Science was Einstein's pathway for realizing life's loftiest purpose, to discover the true nature of reality. Or as Einstein put it, to know God's thoughts, because everything else, he said, amounted merely to details. It was a mission that Albert Einstein would valiantly pursue until the very end. On April 17th, 1955, Albert Einstein experienced a painful tightening in his chest. He was admitted to Princeton Hospital where the doctors recommended surgery for what appeared to be a ruptured aortic artery. Einstein refused.
It is tasteless to prolong life artificially. I have done my share. It is time to go. I will do it elegantly.
As he lay in the hospital bed, Einstein reached for his notebook in the hope that he might yet complete his life's work, complete the leg of a journey he had been marching along for 30 years, complete what he called the unified theory, a theory that promised to stitch our understanding of all of nature's forces into a single mathematical tapestry. Even in those final hours, Einstein was driven by a supreme confidence that there was a unified theory, a master key that would unlock the secret code of the cosmos. It was a confidence radiating from a mind that had an uncanny, almost supernatural ability to meld with the natural world, a mind that nature herself had seduced some 70 years earlier. When Albert was 4, maybe 5 years old, he lay sick in bed. And to cheer up his young son, his father, Hermann Einstein, brought the boy a compass. And as young Albert Einstein twisted and turned and examined the compass and saw that the needle was mysteriously but reliably nudged northward, his hands grew cold. He trembled.
That this needle behaved in such a determined way did not at all fit with the nature of events, of effects connected with direct touch. I can still remember, or at least I believe I can remember, that this experience made a profound impression on me. Something deeply hidden had to be behind things.
The boy could feel the power of an unseen force shaping and molding and controlling experience. Filled him with awe, tinged with terror. Beneath perception, reality was guided by nature's hidden hand, and it was a hand that Albert Einstein would spend a lifetime yearning to grasp. Until he was 8 years old, Albert Einstein attended a German Catholic school, a fine tradition for good Jewish boys. He then transferred to the Leopold Gymnasium until he was 15, followed by a year of high school in Switzerland. Now, legend has it that Einstein was a poor student. After all, a version of that legend goes, one of Einstein's high school report cards shows his grade in mathematics plummeting from a 1, the highest in the fall, all the way down to a 6, the lowest in the spring. And we all love these stories, right? We soak them up, relieved to learn that even Albert Einstein began life ordinary. But there is always more to it. In this case, between those two terms, Einstein's high school, well, they changed their evaluation scale, making a 1 the lowest and a 6 the highest. You know, the old reverse the grading system trick to confuse future historians. Fact is, Einstein was the kind of kid who today would be nicknamed Einstein. By the time he was 15, he'd mastered differential and integral calculus. So if little Johnny fails math, he's not just like Einstein. But what is true, and emphatically so, is that Einstein had a deep disdain for authority, for rote learning, for any kind of institutional power.
Though the child of entirely irreligious Jewish parents, I came to a deep religiousness, which, however, abruptly ended at the age of 12. Through the reading of popular scientific books, I soon realized that much in the stories of the Bible could not be true. The consequence was a positively fanatic orgy of free thinking, coupled with the impression that youth is being intentionally deceived by the state through lies. It was a crushing impression. Mistrust of every kind of authority grew out of the experience. An attitude which never again left me.
It was an attitude that would fuel a fiercely independent engagement with the world. Einstein would learn on his own schedule. He'd study on his own timetable, and he would determine what was worthy of his attention.
The only thing that interferes with my learning is my education. I played the truant a great deal. At home, I studied the masters of theoretical physics with religious zeal.
Maxwell, Helmholtz, Boltzmann, Kirchhoff, Mach, Lorentz. These were Einstein's teachers. And when it came to studying for exams, well, Einstein would simply borrow the meticulous notes of his classmate, Marcel Grossman, and he'd generally scrape by. You see, Einstein had no desire for the usual accolades that motivated his fellow students, and he could not hide his contempt for rigid courses that covered the same old mandated material. Kind of makes me wonder what he'd think about the Common Core. Head of the physics department at the Zurich Polytechnic was Heinrich Weber. And during Einstein's first couple of years there, Weber gave a number of outstanding lecture courses and so had earned Einstein's admiration. But as Einstein's classmate Louis Kohlroas noted, that admiration quickly faded.
We waited in vain for a presentation of Maxwell's theory.
Referring to James Clerk Maxwell's new synthesis of electricity and magnetism, which Weber had apparently decided not to cover.
Einstein, above all, was disappointed.
And that disappointment, it ran deep. A few years earlier, when Einstein was 16, he had read popular accounts of Maxwell's theory that left him puzzled. Not because the books were unclear. Quite the contrary. Einstein had correctly learned that certain kinds of dancing electric and magnetic fields were in fact waves of light. But Einstein's fertile imagination took this realization one vital step further.
If I pursue a beam of light with the velocity of light, I should perceive such a light beam as at rest. However, such a thing does not seem to exist.
Now, granted, chasing after a beam of light is not the kind of thing that most of us would worry about. But even so, there is nothing particularly mysterious here in Einstein's reasoning. Much as a car on the highway appears stationary to somebody chasing it at the same speed, Einstein is saying that if you chase a beam of light at the speed of light, the light should appear stationary. You should be able to reach over and scoop up a handful of stationary light. But the thing is, none of you have ever held a handful of stationary light. And that's not like some weird coincidence shared by everyone who's come out for tonight's program. No one has ever held a handful of stationary light. And it was this seeming tension between the behavior of light and logical, intuitive understanding of motion that had been gnawing at Einstein. So he'd eagerly been awaiting Weber to present the math describing light. And when Weber decided that there were other, more important things to cover, Einstein scoffed. And from then on referred to his teacher as Herr Weber instead of the respectful Herr Professor Weber.
You're a very clever boy, Einstein, an extremely clever boy, but you have one great fault. You'll never let yourself be told anything.
Weber proceeded to reject one proposal after another which Einstein submitted for his final diploma requirement. And when the two finally did agree on a project and Einstein did the work, Weber rejected it because Einstein did not write the report on the correct sized paper. Hate it when that happens. You know, the romance of youthful rebellion, It was all well and good until Einstein realized that it was these very same professors that would determine his employment prospects. Einstein graduates in July 1900 with the less than stellar teaching diploma and sets about finding an academic job. He sends dozens of letters of inquiry, but rarely even receives a response. By 1901, Einstein is near despair. He needs a job. Marcel Grossman, that kid whose class notes helped Einstein to graduate,